opportunities rising. However, many communities or some developing countries may not have enough capacity to deal with these special funding opportunities. So this is very important because I have a little special personal experience that I have observed that sometimes donor recipient countries or some donor recipient organizations rely on too much on donor agencies, consultants. So of course, donor agencies consultant has often have a capacity building component. However, maybe it would be better if we have more explicit component to develop capacity development for the counterpart, which is the recipient country, so that these country, fund recipient country can manage fund and can implement various projects. So in this sense, developing capacity building is very, very important, I think. And I think that the fourth point I would like to make, and maybe I don't have to quote some other option, but this is a bit of loose point to make. I'd like to make one point, and the one thing I haven't heard a lot in the past 1.5 days is the time issues. It is a little bit away from the regulation issue, but maybe just add one more interesting topic. But time issue is sometimes we have, say, very robust, very well-defined policies, but sometimes or often these policies would need more time to get adjusted, to be implemented, to have realized the real impact. So maybe we need to be a little bit patient about that. At the same time, another time element I'm going to say, this is my last comment, is although we like to have really robust, really good regulation, works really well, but at the same time, time is ticking. So we need to act quickly, because if we fail to come up with good regulation, good measures in time before the world is changing rapidly, we fail it. So I think this time element has been not so explicitly discussed in the past 1.5 days, I thought. So I just wanted to add one comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sano. Thank you for your sharing your thoughts with us and further provoking us on what could or should happen between the donor and the recipients. My final speaker, panelist of the morning, is Her Excellency Liana Bratasida, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Environment, Government of Indonesia. Her Excellency is Assistant Minister for Global Environmental Affairs and International Cooperation in the Ministry of Environment and has been heavily involved in multilateral environmental agreements ratified by Indonesia. She is Indonesia's national focal point for Asia-Pacific Network for Global Change, APN, the Indonesian chair for ASEAN Senior Officials on Environment, ASOEAN, ASOEN, and the chair of ASEAN Working Group on Environmentally Sustainable Cities. Earlier, she was the alternative member of the CDM Executive Board, UNFCCC, and the chair of the subsidiary body for implementation, SBI. She is also a board member of the Asia Pacific Regional Center on Cleaner Production, APRCF. Madam Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dorji. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to extend my appreciation and thanks to UNEP for inviting me to be one of the panelists in this important session. I would like to share what is happening in Indonesia, and maybe it can be a good model for South-South cooperation also. We are very lucky that in 2007 we are the host of the COP13 CMP3 in Bali. Since then, the awareness of climate change and all environmental issue is already mainstreaming to all department or sector. Therefore, in 2009, we issue a new law on environmental protection and management, that is law number 32 and 2009, where we have 4 articles in this law related with adaptation and mitigation. So I would like to mention about the Environmental Protection and Management Plan, including adaptation and mitigation plan has to be implemented. Number 2, strategic environmental assessment, including analysis on vulnerability and adaptive capacity. Number 3, development of standard and criteria for damage attributed to climate change based on rising temperature, increase of sea level rise, and also increase of storm and drought. So we have the legal basis there. And the these three speakers before me already mentioned that actually the implementation is very weak. So after we issued the law, actually at the national level, we announced what we call it Indonesian Climate Change Sectoral Roadmap. Will support the government of Indonesia development vision related to climate change for the next 20 years. The implementation of the roadmap will be through National Development Plan. The new midterm development is for period 2010 until 2014. There are 9 priority sectors. For mitigation sector, we are focusing on energy, forestry, industry, transportation, and waste management. In the adaptation, we are focusing in agriculture, marine and fisheries, water resources, and health. So, of course, at the national level, I fully agree with my earlier speaker that the implementation is still very weak. But I would like to share with you what is happening at the local level. Because during the plenary, there are so many questions or statements also. Are the local government ready to mainstreaming adaptation in the development planning? So I would like to share with you what is happening in one area, in one island in Indonesia. But before that, since my president is very committed with the environmental issue and also with climate change, since Petersburg in September 2009, my president voluntarily announced our commitment to reduce our emission by 26% with our own money. And if there is a support from international donors, we will increase until 41%. After Indonesia launched our voluntary emission reduction, followed by the other developing country like Brazil, South Africa, Singapore, etc. So we will show actually that developing countries also do something in the climate change issue or in the environmental issue. And my president also at the national level issue the presidential instruction number 1, 2010 that identify the climate change vulnerability parameters in coastal areas and also terrestrial ecosystem that impact to flood and landslides should be implemented. And also identify climate change vulnerability parameters of an island in agriculture, water resources, sea level rise, climate extreme events, rainfall, temperature, and also compose draft of standard criteria for damage caused by climate change, and compose vulnerability maps for sea waves, flood, and landslides of Java Island, Sumatra, and also Kalimantan. So there are several activities at the local government that being implemented. For example, in Lombok is an island neighbor of Bali. We conduct a study on vulnerability, risk, and assessment supported by GTZ. And we would like to replicate the result of Lombok study into another area in central Kalimantan, that is Tarakan, and also in South Sumatra provinces, supported by GTZ and also AUS-8. So the lesson learned from Lombok is very, very important that I would like to share with all of you. How to do mainstreaming of climate change in development policy at the local level. namely the integration of risk assessment and climate change adaptation into development planning, mid-term and also long-term in Lombok Island. The study shows that the formulation of adaptation strategies are more appropriate when they are preceded by a risk assessment so as to avoid under, over, or maladaptation. The adaptation strategy formulated for each relevant sector, then further elaborated into the program and adaptation activities and integrated into the strategic plan of each sector at the local level, including irrigation unit, agriculture unit, marine and fisheries unit, and also various other related units at the local level. On the basis of this study, we, the Ministry of Environment, draft a regulation on implementation of control policy in the regional impacts of climate change. Lesson learned from Lombok Island that high-quality long-term climate data are difficult to find, whereas they are fundamental for detecting the actual climate change. Secondly, simple climate projection method based on outputs of IPCC Assessment Report 4 models can provide information on possible trend of average rainfall and temperature, but estimation of extreme events will require much effort. The hazard of current climate variability is more obvious, and there is more sound know-how to foresee. Moving to replication in Tarakan, in Kalimantan, and also South Sumatra. The replication may be more complicated, at least for Tarakan, because we are doing micro scale, and South Sumatra because the area is too large to be considered as a single point, and the ecosystem is also different. So we have to modify, we have to change several parameters in our study. Resolving spatial variation is more important in South Sumatra. So there are several lessons learned that we would like to share with our neighbor in ASEAN, because all ASEAN countries are very vulnerable to climate change. So the Lombok model maybe can be replicated with some modification in other countries in ASEAN. So the key requirements, especially at the local level, why we can implement the project in Lombok, because there is a leadership from the governor of Lombok Island. There is a very strong, very high commitment also from the governor at that island, and they would like to do action. They would like to do programs, but they don't have the capacity. Therefore, that is the role of central government, to support the local government with methodologies, how to evaluate the ecosystem, how to develop and strengthening the local scientists. That is very important. We need to build the capacity of local scientists in order that they can involve in the planning stage at the local level, and at the later stage also monitor what is happening. And also adaptation guidance for local government is very important. That is the role of the central government. And then we also help them with mapping of communities affected by areas, the coastal area, the agriculture, forests, freshwater, and health. And also strengthening the resilience of communities affected by climate change. The local government, because the high commitment from the government is there, they allocate a certain amount of money based on their own budget. But the budget is not enough. There where we support them from the national budget, and also we invite donors. Therefore, GTZ